Yeah. I think either one of them stays right.
I'm headed out of town this afternoon. I'm going back to Thursday.
Right. Yeah, I knew you were headed out.
Yes, I am, so.
This feels early. I'm usually work at 6:30, but for some
For
reason
some
this morning
reason on Saturday it seems harder. Oh, and I had, normally my alarm's not set on Saturday, it's just, and so I made sure to set it, but I didn't have my volume turned up.
This is just
so I, like,
tab,
full
so if
tone
you're
up
setting up
loud with, like, this odd noise.
meetings.
Excuse my, not anymore. I'll go make one more. You know, I realized when I have like anything at my house for like, just anything, my 5-year-old, if there's post-its, they can stick all over the house. So I had to like run to the store and just get like these pens, post-its, all these, like, oh, reading stuff. And I'm like, I feel like I'm back in school.
I struggle with trying to get all my emails to sync.
Oh, so did you get my new one? I think I sent it back to the group, but did it not?
I don't think so.
I don't think you did.
Oh, so I tried. I did it, but I've gotta just send it to you guys.
We'll figure it. I mean,
I have trouble getting it to sync with my current Gmail,
That's,
but my friend helped me. I can show you how to do it because I struggled. And I was like,
Okay.
Becca, you're so good at this. How do you do it? Maybe
Okay.
she helped me get through because I was.
so I
I
did
guess we're
send it this
waiting for Jeff.
If you on your, you have an iPhone.
I do. I haven't looked at it on here yet.
Just a calendar, so you have something to look at.
Oh, thank you.
Schedule.
Your settings. Yeah, and then go down to your mail. Right there. You can, go to accounts. And then you can add an extra. That is the Gmail, so Google.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so if you just follow those steps.
Thank you.
Because I'm like, I know I can do this, but I couldn't quite figure out how to do it, and so she's like.
And I have two already, so this will be my third.
I have two, but one is like so old. I mean, it's in there. Like, I didn't even remember that one, but it's.
Yeah. I tried to use one last year because you know, it doesn't really try to get all those. You have to enter an email.
Email addresses. Well, and that's why I keep my like junk, and then
Yeah.
that really has become.
Yeah.
This is something that Gayle had that I asked for.
Oh,
I
yes.
think I'd emailed it, so I just picked it up yesterday, but it's something that. Hopefully Jeff's gonna make it.
Have to connect to the Wi-Fi here, and then I could send an email.
Some pretty good stuff in there.
Is it available online?
Yeah, I would think, but I think that you're gonna log in or something like that. I couldn't find it, so luckily Gayle had a copy of it. No, seems like we should wait at least a few minutes.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not available, I was gonna leak. I didn't pay attention, that it snowed, and then I looked out, and I'm like, oh my god.
Well, I left in time, but then I headed down through the town truck and bent down, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna get behind them, I'm gonna be late.
I never heard them come through. They came through early this morning.
Do we wanna pick a time where we say we'll wait until
That's what I was thinking.
it's 4 after right now?
It's quarter after.
4
No, it's-
after. Sorry, got a frog in my throat.
Bye.
Morning, Marianne. I didn't say good morning.
Beat
Maybe we should start with introductions to make sure everybody knows everybody.
That's what yeah.
I hit snooze twice.
So do we say we wait till 10 after? Do we?
Is it, this is, I should have.
Oh, well,
I
No, I
say
guess-
10 after, and then we can start introductions, and hopefully
Yeah.
he's here, but.
Can we do introductions
Introductions now?
before them? Oh, well, I have never met. I'm sorry. We should probably wait till he's here. Sorry. Okay.
yeah, I think that sounds. Wait till 10 after, and if not,
Sure.
Yep.
are the meetings usually start promptly at the.
Try to. Wondering. Okay.
It's a good note for me for the future.
I'm coming on two wheels to every meeting.
I think we might have that in common. Gosh, the lighting in here, I should have brought my reading glasses.
Karen might have a spare pair.
I'll make do. But
I could call him.
who calls the meeting to order? One of us?
Did anybody bring the select board book?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't have a printed copy.
What is
Yep.
it?
The select board book. I'm wondering who calls the meeting.
Oh,
Well, typically the chair, but we don't have one.
Right, in this situation.
I don't know that I don't know that there's a,
There was something in the start of that book.
there was.
there he is.
He is.
Sorry, I ran into snow. I had to, talk to my advisor down there. Sorry,
No, you're fine. I don't need to spread out. It's not.
all right, so let's call the meeting to order. Excuse me, at 7 a.m. Do we have any conflict of interest to disclose? Okay.
Should we wait for Karen? She's been.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Technically, she's doing the minutes.
Right.
Yeah, sorry,
We want to do a quick introduction, Adjourn?
basically. Man, last time I saw you, you were in like 4th or 5th grade. I was subbing.
Last
And
time
Kelly.
I saw you, you were in 4th or 5th.
Right,
Yeah.
probably. The cycle of life. Hey Karen.
Hi.
How are you doing? Okay, so are there any changes to the agenda? All right. Do we have a nomination for chair?
Well, I guess I have a question. Is your term, I mean, do you have interest in, or is your term up? I mean, I've heard people
My
say
term- yeah.
that you may not be running again in March, or.
I probably am not. And
Okay.
I mean, there are some people that are poking me and prodding me and saying that I should. But let's just put it, we're in a unknown,
Okay.
to be determined
Sure.
at this point. But I mean, there'll be a new chair selected on town meeting day
Sure.
anyways. So if anything needs to change. I think whoever has the most time on their hands might want to be chair, but I think that we all have other things going on, so that might be a neutral factor.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know, what do you guys think? I don't care either way, if you want me to, just because I've run the meetings before. That's the main thing is just running the meetings. I think that now it's more important that we start to, like, right off the bat, maintaining order and not allowing the few people that like to disrupt things and bully people to just like keep them under control. So if whoever does it should just keep that in mind. Sorry, Billy. Everybody else is over there.
No, you're fine.
So yeah, so I don't know, whatever you guys want to do. I'm not insulted if someone else wants to do it.
I think you were gonna say something.
No, I was going to ask, so we would determine meeting rules of procedure after selecting the chair and vice chair.
Right.
Would be how
Okay.
that would go.
So I think you probably have the most experience. If you're happy to be the chair, I nominate you.
I think Kathy would be pushing it, but I'll do it. Do we have a second or?
I would second that.
Okay. Kevin, do you have anything?
No, I was just, I think, my question was just because you hear, hey, Jeff's gonna be getting done kind of thing, and I know that
Yeah.
that's your decision to make, not mine, but I mean, I was just, came in here thinking, okay, all right, how's this gonna go so that we can, whoever's may be, if it's an all new board, come March.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, at this point, I'm assuming Marianne is back?
No. Marianne is not formally hired by the town.
Well, no, that was a generalized back.
Okay, well, it can be taken several ways. In the board, you have to go through the process of rehiring people.
Right, now, that being said, Marianne has stayed on payroll and has helped with, has been helping with the budget and the not the budget, but the report. So she isn't officially divorced from the town.
But we also put that position
Right.
out, and we have applicants.
Yeah, and I just wanted to let everybody know, like, Marianne has continued a relationship with us, and if, I guess that's for a different time. So we have a second, a motion for me to be the chair, and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
Do you want to discuss it more?
Just try to keep things moving, sorry.
Yep.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Is that everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So unanimously, I have Jeff Clayton has been voted to be chair. Do we have a nomination for vice chair?
Kevin?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Kevin.
Okay.
All right. So I'm assuming we got a second?
Yes.
All right. So we have a motion for Kevin Marshy to be vice chair of the select board. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I guess actually I'm not used to being chair, so I don't vote on those. But all right. So Kevin Marshy has unanimously taken the position of vice chair. We need to determine rules of procedure. Historically, it's been Robert's rules. Does anybody want to change from that? If you do, you're going to have to come up with the materials to support whatever you want to do. I don't care. It's just I don't really know how to run a meeting if we're not following Robert's rules.
I think we need to follow Robert's rules.
Absolutely.
I know
Okay.
the League of Cities and Towns has their own kind of, you don't have to buy it copy version of it kind of thing, which I think is pretty similar, so.
And I think we have a couple copies floating around.
I actually printed them out, but I think I left them at home.
Well, I mean, there's a
but-
book like
Right,
that.
exactly, yeah. I think I need to buy that, Kelly.
I have these,
Yeah.
yeah,
So-
quick reading.
No, I definitely think that we need to follow rules and order and decorum.
All right. So do we have a motion to set Robert's rules as our meeting rules of procedure?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded to adopt Robert's rules of order for our meeting procedures. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. I didn't hear it. I just want to make sure.
I'm sorry,
Aye.
I have vocal problems.
Okay. You don't have to be that loud if you don't want it, but
No, it
I just need to make sure.
sometimes
that-
doesn't come out.
All right, so unanimously, we have adopted Robert's Rules of Order. Setting meeting dates, location, and times for meetings. I have Tuesdays an EMT course that's coming up, and it's going to be, I think it starts at 7. If we could do a different night than Tuesday, that would help me out. Otherwise, I'm not going to take the course.
When does it start?
Next week.
Okay,
So, yeah. Is there another day that anyone?
I mean,
I'm pretty flexible.
Wednesdays are fine with me. Mondays, of course, we have fire meetings.
Yeah. Is it Wednesday?
okay, I have no preference.
Yeah, I guess that works. I mean, it's just a matter of getting the morning out there and making sure that we get the word out there, right? Because everybody's used to Tuesdays.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then do we want to do 7:30?
I'm okay starting even earlier if others are. I mean,
Earlier is better.
Okay. The reason we had actually moved later is a few of us had been working out of town and getting back here, and it's like you throw something in your face and then come to the meeting, and sometimes you're late because you're not getting back. So I'm fine with going earlier.
I mean, I know the financial committee meets at 6:30. I guess for me, part of the thought too is we might get more participation, more people to come, especially in the dark winter hours if we're not starting at 7:30 when some people are ready for bed at 8 or 8:30 kind of thing. So
So 6:30?
Why don't we, yeah.
I would suggest that if that's
I agree.
Okay. And then town hall, or do we want to move back to the library? And the only thing about the library is it's cramped.
I was gonna say, I actually would prefer the town hall.
Okay. So, do we have a motion?
I motion that we meet Wednesdays, 6:30 at the town hall.
All right, it's been moved that our meetings will be held Wednesdays at 6:30 in the town hall. Do we have a second?
I second.
Every Wednesday, every other Wednesday?
Oh, yeah, sorry. And we would be on the second and third Wednesday of the month?
It was the first.
I mean, the first,
Possibly fifth.
third, and possibly fifth. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
so it's an every other Wednesday
Yeah.
Right.
during that month. And
Fifth would be optional, and we would have to make the decision to hold that meeting. It's not something that's going to automatically happen. So, so the motion's been made to hold our meetings on the first, third, and possibly fifth Wednesdays of the month at 6:30 in the town hall. And we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we will be meeting the first, third, and possibly fifth Wednesday of the month at 6:30 in the town hall. Now, determining the process for calling special meetings and emergency meetings. I mean, there's a process laid down in statute. Is this, we have to do it within a certain, we have a certain amount of time to do that. Karen, what exactly are we setting here? Because usually we would set that up in a meeting or via.
I just put that in there because it was on your last year's,
Right.
but I wasn't at your meeting last year for setting this up. That Marianne was.
I wasn't either because I was appointed after that meeting. So I don't think we really need to cover this. Statutorily, we're required to give certain notice.
24 hours.
24 hours for
For
special.
special-
And then they have to the agenda has to be posted 48.
Yes.
That's all right.
Yeah. So
Could we just Can we just say that our process will follow state statute and guidance provided by the League of Cities and Towns?
Right, so the select board by assent is going to follow the rules set forth by the Vermont League of City and Towns.
Yeah. So do we need a motion?
I don't think so, because we're kind of required to do it anyways. And then, do we have public comments? All right. The newspaper of record, we have historically used the Herald.
Karen had something to say. Kelly. Oh, Kelly, sorry.
If we receive like public comments in writing, excuse me, Karen, do you bring those forward?
They wouldn't usually come to me unless they brought them to me.
Or I'm thinking of, so mail or something, otherwise they come.
That's, public comments is for people that are here.
So how are like emails received from the public
Sometimes
treated
we would just say so-and-so emailed us.
during public comments? Thank you.
Well, or when the topic comes up.
Yeah, or.
Okay, thank you.
And so those would be comments that are addressed to us as a board.
Yeah, or, I mean, we might have something that filters through to us from Marianne or Gayle or Karen, and, you know, we address it. A lot of times, we'll put it on the agenda, and the person either shows up or doesn't show up. If it's something that's more complex, we might rely on them showing up, and if they don't, we don't address it. Or if we don't have enough information to make comment on it or address it. So it's really kind of, that's an organic process. But people definitely they'll let you know.
Right. Well, and I guess just under this one, that's just the question I have is somebody emails me and says, hey, I'm concerned about X in town. And that's just, I think for all of us, just to kind of understand public meeting law, you know, and also just, you know, public information and that kind of stuff, just kind of how that goes. And I know we don't have to solve it today, but I think that's something I want to make sure that at least I understand. Maybe others do understand that, but I just want to make sure that, you know, an individual emailing me, you know, do we bring that forward as public comment or not? And maybe Karen knows the answer to this, so.
If they're sending it as a board, I would.
Right.
If they're sending it to you to bring to the board, yes.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
My concern is when you get to the public comment section, are you going to have a limitation of time that people get to talk? And are you going to let them talk more than once? Because some of the meetings drag on.
Right.
Info.
Well, I think that depends on what the situation is. If someone's just repeating themselves over and over again, we need to nip it in the bud. But if there's actual discussion that's productive and needs to occur, we should.
I don't think it would hurt to set a limit, and then if it's a discussion we want to continue with, we can.
Yeah, if it's a big hot
allow that,
topic.
but it might be nice to have if it's something that's going to be repetitive for give us an opportunity.
So what we would normally do is say, you know, because we have so many people, we're going to limit comments to a minute or whatever. And I don't think you could limit it to one person that can only speak once because things develop.
Right.
You know, so I think usually you would determine it at the meeting. If there's only one person here for public comment, you probably aren't going to have to address it. But when there's 20 people here and everybody's fired up.
And I agree with that, but do we want to just kind of say just generally so that if there's an expectation that it's not like, oh, well, so-and-so, they were the only ones, so they get to talk for 20 minutes. Like we say generally, we're going to limit public comment to 3 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever that is, so that there's at least that expectation set.
Right.
And if one person shows up, you know, and some of the reading I had was, as a board, we can be like, oh, okay, we're at 3 minutes. We all kind of nod and you get to continue, but at least there's some expectation, so it's not like there's not the idea of we're cherry picking which topic we want to limit 3 minutes or person we want to pick, you know, limit the time frame to.
Well, I mean, so a couple things. One, we can, because sometimes meetings don't have enough time to delve as deeply as some people want you to into a subject. So we can cherry pick. And there are people who will continuously monopolize the time, and we can say, sorry, you know, you person. And then my only concern is if we set up that like expectation of like 2 minutes or whatever, if we're in a situation where we want to hear more and we need to hear more, having that person who's going to be like, well, they've gone past their 2 minutes. And so I would think like there's a reasonableness to the amount of time that you take up, and it's related to new information being given and response to the discussion. And so like I agree, like setting that time limit. I just wonder about, you know, the nitpickers who are going to try to use that as a way to chill other people from speaking, have a chilling effect on other people's speech, essentially. So I don't feel strongly though, if you want to do that. I'm just throwing out
You
things.
make that call in the moment?
Well, I think
As
we
chair?
we would talk, like the chair isn't, or at least how I see it, the chair isn't like, this is what we're doing. It's kind of like everybody's talking. The chair just happens to be the person who's appointed to run things.
Right, so you would interrupt that public speaker.
Right,
to say
so
that's
I would,
enough.
in order to maintain order, and if you think someone is going over, I mean, in the rules, I think you say, point of order, Mr. Chairman, you know, we need to do whatever.
I think my concern is that there's sort of just a perception, I don't know that it's accurate, but that I think there's a great need for transparency right now.
Yeah.
And to have it very clear and established who can do what ahead of time really kind of lays things out of like, we're really trying to treat everybody equally. And that, I think right now, appearance is important. I mean, you know, you said we can cherry pick. I get that we can, but is that the best thing that needs to happen right now? Or does it really be like, okay, this is our structure, this is our order?
So when I first became chair a couple of years ago, our meetings were going until like 11 o'clock at night. And we were going 3 hours, 4 hours, because I had that feeling. Like, you just let everybody talk. You don't want to, you know, they need to be able to be heard. But the reality of it is, if you let the people who like to talk just go free, it just throws everything off. I mean, I don't know.
That's, I think we're making the same point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So would we make a decision to limit time of, you know, like public comments so that it's clear that everybody gets the same
Airtime.
airtime and somebody can't just take control?
Maybe limit it to a certain amount of time with the select board able to ask questions beyond that. I'm just trying to think of a way to do it without someone being able to say, well, you said this. So the select board reserves the right to lead further discussion on a matter.
Right. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea of us just generally saying, hey, generally we're going to limit discussion to
Well, and I also
3 minutes or whatever it happens. Sorry, Lena, like 3 minutes or whatever it is. But, you know, the board has discretion to follow up or to extend based on the content. But to Kelly's point, I think that like sets a parameter, you know, that just is that general expectation. And you know, further on that topic, I do like the idea that if we do have a group of people, everybody that wants to talk gets to talk once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before one person, you know, jumps in and they, you know, the 3-4 different times, and there's somebody that's kind of sitting there with their hand up hoping they get a chance to talk.
Right.
So-
And so 3 minutes is a speech. Like, that's oration.
Right.
I think like a minute, and then if we need more information, because a minute even is of just sitting there speaking is quite a while.
Yeah, I was
Right.
gonna
Yeah.
say, I feel like a time limit is gonna make people get to the point a little quicker if they.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would recommend a minute, because we can ask questions to bring it more than that and tease out information that we would need. But, you know, even 2 minutes is, you know, that's a long time. Say we have 10 people and we have 20 minutes of discussion, you know, there's going to be, you know, people want to
Yeah.
rebut what someone else has said. So you end up with a 45-minute discation on,
Yeah, you
you
gotta-
know, putting Christmas lights up on the common or something like that. You
You're
know,
gonna chew up most of the meeting.
it happens, like more often than not. So are we okay with setting a limit of a minute, and then we can ask questions to bring it further?
Yes.
And And I want to suggest, can we call it two? Because I think sometimes people don't get to the point of their matter immediately.
Yeah.
Like not everybody is used to public speaking and knowing that I have to go in 1 minute, present my whole thing and make the select board understand how important this is to me in 1 minute's time.
Most people also send emails, so you've got a background on what's going on as well. But I don't feel strongly either way. So if I have a motion,
I guess I would also think that once people get the gist that they only have a minute to talk, I would hope that they would prepare before they came here so that in that minute their point is made and we're not having to spend 3, 5, 10 minutes, dragging the information out of them that we really need.
And I think today we need to be clear. This is we're setting general parameters that that depending on the topic, the meeting, whatever, we may decide to change that, but at least there's some general expectation.
Yeah, we don't have to set some policy right now.
Right.
I'm good to move on with it.
Okay, so we'll bring that up if someone else, if you want it on the agenda, just email and I'll put it on the agenda. We can deal with it a little more. So newspaper of record, we historically do the Herald. We have a lot of access to everybody over there. I work with Tim Calabro with students at the school, so I think it's a good choice. If anyone else has another newspaper that they would like, just make a motion. I'm not.
I motion that we have the Herald as the newspaper.
I second it.
So there's been a motion and a second to have the Herald be our newspaper of record. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So the ayes have it. The Herald is our newspaper of record. Determining the select board organizational process. I would say this is going to take a little more discussion, especially given the potential impact it has. And we need to think about who, I personally think, we probably need to see who works well with who and who has the skill set to handle that kind of thing. I don't think this is a decision we should just be like boom, boom.
And I would agree. Are there a few things though that we need to address, like Karen's willingly taking our minutes
Right.
this morning? Like there's a few things in here that we may want to make sure we address, but I would agree maybe some of the stuff we could come back to.
Yeah, so as far as the meeting minutes, I'm hoping, unless somebody is volunteering on the board, that Karen might continue until we determine who the administrative assistant is.
Is Karen
That's
willing?
okay, Karen?
You're willing? Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Karen.
And then, wastewater at this point, we need to deal with that as a board. There's
Yeah.
that is, at this point, that's just like a disaster. And not in performance of the people that are there, but we essentially don't have anyone to do what's there. And I know Mike is ready to not be doing it. And so that's just, I think we need to deal with as a board. Highway right now, I don't think there's anything immediately that needs anyone to deal with other than us as a board getting our staffing where we want it to be. Transfer station, Snook, I was the person who dealt with Snook and everything. Very seldom does something come up at the transfer station that needs to be dealt with, so we don't need to do that right now. Zoning, we have Mary Ellen Hayward doing that. We don't, there's not a lot of need of going in there and
Are we on F10F?
I was looking at this.
Yeah.
Yes,
the-
okay,
Okay.
all right.
So A through E, we decided to not
Okay, sorry. I saw that and then I started looking over
Okay,
here.
all right.
I'll go back. I'll go back to that. Let's see. So minutes, Karen will cover us for the time being. Someone to sign the orders on off weeks. Who's in town the most? I'm hit or miss. Gayle has to come come and find me sometimes.
How does that work? Maybe we could get an explanation, kind of how that works, how often,
It's
how many
every
people
other
normally do it, that kind of thing.
every other Tuesday. It has historically been the chair. I don't mind doing it if Gayle is okay with that. Sometimes I'm a day or two late just because I don't get into town.
I'm in town. What time?
Is there a
Maybe it could be-
time that you
Usually
prefer?
by 2 o'clock, I have everything ready on Tuesday. So it'll be either Tuesday until 4:30, or if you have a key, you can do it anytime. Or Wednesday morning, early.
And normally is that like just a couple of board members that sign the orders?
just one.
One person goes
And then I
in.
bring them to the next meeting, and everybody can look at them.
Okay. Right, just one person signs them, but is there more than one designee that can do it? Is that how it works, or is it usually
I
just?
think we can do whatever we want. We could have two if we want.
Could we do 2 to make it easier? Because you just said you're difficult to track down.
Yeah, depending on the week. The past few weeks I've been in and out of town and gone into a car accident and stuff. Life has been a little hectic. So
Like Kelly, I'm generally if it's till 4:30 too, so
yeah, so if that's what you'd like,
if you wanted to, Kelly, or whatever, but it would make sense to me that we have to maybe make Gayle's life easier.
Yeah. I'm fine with that.
I would agree with that.
all right. So we have a motion.
Yeah, I'd move, Kelly, you're willing to do that? I'd move that Kelly would be the other person, other than the chair to be able to
Okay.
sign orders.
So it's been moved that Kelly Lyford and Jeff Clayton would be the designees for signing orders/warrants on off weeks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, so the ayes have it, and Kelly and I will be the designated people to sign orders. Determining agenda content and coordination. Historically, how we've done it is the chair puts together the agenda and everybody just emails things that they want in there, or if people around town email one of us, you share it and then we put it in.
Right, because the agenda formation is something per meeting law, the open meeting law, that we can actually email each other back and forth about it.
Well,
right? And that's
everything we do, if you don't reply all. So we can
Right,
send an
understood.
email to each other, but I think even with the agenda, we can't reply all because then it would constitute a quorum. So you have to do individual.
yeah.
That's my understanding. Karen.
There's certain
It's
things.
thought
There's
that
certain
the
things in open
agenda-
meeting. There's certain things in the open meeting law that we can do electronically, and I thought the agenda formation was. Well, we can't talk about agenda items, but in terms of like
What's
what
on
the
the agenda?
Okay, agenda formation.
yeah.
Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind.
Well, that's part. I know. Sorry, Jeff, but I know for me that's part of the learning. I want to make sure I get right,
Right.
because it's pretty easy to fire off emails, right?
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that we get that part right in terms of
I
open
will
meeting
double
law.
check that with VLCT. Okay, for you? Because I don't have the paperwork I gave you the other day.
Right, Fred.
If you have it, it's fine.
Yeah, because I mean, in general, usually when it comes to the agenda formation, you guys say, I'm not going to say, hey, is everybody agreeing that we should have this on the agenda? I would put it on the agenda, and then when we get there, if there's no discussion to be had, then we would say, okay, we'll move on, we'll table it, however that works. So I think that where that.
You wouldn't send a draft agenda to us and say, hey, this is the draft agenda?
Yeah, no,
Let
I'll
me know.
send
Okay.
a draft agenda.
Okay.
And, you know, it's still, you know, it's not a major discussion process, because if Kevin wants something on the agenda and two people say, well, I don't want that on the agenda, I would tend to just say, well, sorry, we can talk about it at
Yeah,
the
put it on the
meeting.
agenda,
Put it on
it'll
the
be a
agenda.
discussion, yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah, so I don't think we have to do have a motion on that. It's
Yeah, I think it's
pretty simple.
hearing.
Honestly, I don't even see how else we could, unless we form the agenda at the meeting prior to,
Then things come up.
but stuff always comes up, no matter what. So I'm going to move on, if that's okay. Approval for village green requests. What we have historically done is, unless there's a conflict or someone has an objection, the chair just signs the approval. So say they want to have trunk or treat. It would come in, we have a request for trunk or treat. Is there any objection? Hearing none, I'm going to sign it. Because we sometimes would have 30 minutes talking about requests that just there was no need to discuss. The same thing for the Roberts Gould Field. Lou Marigat runs the scheduling there, and so what we do is we defer to Lou if there's no conflict in the schedule and it's not something crazy. We generally will do the same. So unless there's an objection, we would sign it and it's there to be used.
So that I understand, it's the type of thing they would come in, we'd have a quick, hey, these are the requests that came in.
Right,
If we don't have any issues, we sign it and move on. But
usually
as a board, we'd be aware of what.
Yeah,
those requests are.
you're always aware, and usually, like when Marianne was the administrative assistant, she would email out that we have these requests, so you know what's going on. If you have a problem with it, you're ready before the meeting, and then they'll be presented in the meeting. It's a lot faster, and this is one of those things that it almost could be an administrative assistant duty, because there at a certain point you can't really say who can use things and who can't in a public forum. And if the Nazis wanted to come and have a rally on the common, and we were like, well, we don't agree with Nazism, so we're going to say no, then they can sue us for a constitutional violation. So obviously we would have problems with that, but you'd have to talk to somebody on how you would go about avoiding that situation coming up.
Having been someone that's been through that process, I like the idea of the board being informed.
So yeah, and we'll
making
be
sure that we have a smooth process.
Yeah, it's pretty smooth. I mean, Marianne, do you agree?
Yeah, there's not many scheduling conflicts. What ends up happening, sometimes people will make a request and it'll be last minute, and I'll just say okay, and then the board will sign. And then if it's in between the 2 weeks, and then the board will just sign, or I'll ask one of you, the chair, or whatever.
Marianne's good at communicating.
The Roberts Gould, that's almost not. I mean, it's a pro forma thing that you guys sign it, but there's 3 people and they schedule it up, and there is a form. They have to do the form and have it signed, but they do it. It's with the school and the ball teams, and it's complicated scheduling. They do it all themselves.
And sometimes we might make sure that if it's, say, a town team, that they have insurance to use.
They all have
Yeah.
to, there's a form, and they all have to have insurance and do their paperwork. They're all really good about that.
Yeah, it's not something we generally.
Maybe for a later, we got plenty of things to do, but for a later agenda item, once we get through the budget and town report, I think I'd like to have a little more discussion on that.
All right. So, and then the liaison appointments, that we'll go back to that. At this point, I would say that there is there isn't an emergency on getting any one person in talking to people. There, for the most part.
Can we discuss that for a minute?
Sure.
That's a great time, I think, to have a liaison set up before there's an emergency. I have seen it done both ways, and with the liaison. Otherwise, you're telling your story to every select board member you come upon.
Right. Now, my only suggestion was we wait until another meeting, because I have to be up in Berlin, so I'm trying to get out of here.
So you
before-
agree with liaisons, just not to choose them today?
Yeah, I just when we have a little more time to discuss things and think about who, like I know some of you have specialized experience that I don't have. And so I would say, well, you might want to be on, Kevin on roads, because you're a civil engineer, right? So you probably would be better than me. And,
Wastewater.
oh, wastewater, yeah, or both. The other thing is a little earworm. We may want to have a public works department rather than have them separate, and there we can put people where we want to put them without having this like separation. He's half employed by the road, half employed by wastewater, all of that stuff. But that's another.
Right, in the future.
So I would just move that the next meeting we discuss it further, and because I don't, between now and I don't even know what the day. Next Wednesday would be an off week, right? And if we wanted to, we could have a meeting next Wednesday.
Just gonna maybe suggest that, considering we have a lot we have to get done. Do we think we should have?
I would, if we
next
do,
Wednesday?
I would say
I'm
limit
out
the.
of town. I'm back on Thursday, unfortunately.
right.
Okay, so maybe we
Not
should.
that you can't meet without me.
Yeah, but we should have everybody for.
But if we could do Thursday next week, if we are going to meet, it would be
Are
helpful to
we
me.
able to do virtual?
Since it could.
I mean, other towns do their town meetings. We're not.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it lengthy to set up for that?
Gayle would have to set up an account, because she's the only one who can use the debit card.
Yeah, and the problem with the virtual meetings is you spend more time dealing with technical difficulties.
I would disagree.
In,
I've sat in many of them.
no, here with our internet capabilities. I don't. If we're all at home and we're not involving the town hall, but every time we do something here, we're losing people, and it's just it adds. It can add an hour.
It's another great way for transparency, though, actually, to have individuals from town who won't go out. And, I mean, you're not going to get me at a meeting unless I volunteer and raise my hand like I did.
Right.
But I would join a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting just to hear what's going on. And I think a lot of people in town might like that option. But so anyway, that doesn't sound like it's an option for next Wednesday, though.
Right. But like I said, I mean, if you
But-
guys have to meet on Wednesday, I come back in on Thursday.
Well,
I
we can
agree
have a
with it.
special meeting. It's an off week anyway, so it doesn't have to be on Wednesday.
Could we do a special meeting Thursday? Does Thursday work for you?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, my flight comes in at like 4:30 or something, so I should be able to be back in town in plenty of time if we met at 6:30.
All right, so I'll send out a draft agenda probably tonight, and I would say we'll limit it to talking about liaisons and personnel matters. Those are the
And budget.
and budget. The other thing with the budget is I really think that two people should work together and really nail it down, because when you have it up on, say we have a screen and everybody's looking at it and talking about it, it tends to take a long time. But if you have two people go in, really look at it, work at it, and they're like, this is what we put down. Do you want us to put, add money to it, take money away from it? I find that the budget is difficult to really get into if someone has, for people, unless you've really gotten into it. And it, if we're trying to make sure everybody understands every little penny as we go, rather than say, okay, this is how much we've done it, these are the things we've increased, these are, it's nice to have a guide. So I don't know how everybody else feels about it. I mean, there would be, not saying that there wouldn't be input from everybody, just that there would be, like two people who are more.
Sort of specialized in it.
Yeah, and then they would work with Gayle for the nitpicky things that are going to come up.
Yeah, I guess the it's interesting with the four of us being new.
Yeah.
I mean, and just the way my mind works is, if it's you and Billy doing the budget, I'm gonna probably still ask all those same questions that you might have gone through, because I wanna make sure I understand the budget. I mean,
Well,
to me, it's there's a lot of things that are important, but that's towards the top of the pile is understanding the budget, and so I just wanna make sure that, we do diligence and that we have enough time dedicated to it so that we all have an understanding of it. And again, I think I see where you're going in terms of making sure that there's something out there, but I just want to make sure there's not an expectation that two people are going to go do it and present it, and in a half an hour we're going to be like, yeah, cool, let's go.
No,
Because if that's the case, I'm going to be a pain, I'll be honest.
Gail's gonna send out the budget to us all, which it's a
pretty budget for all of them was updated, but there's a lot of blank spaces that need to
Right.
be filled in.
Yeah.
And I have it, so, I have fixed all the formula, so updates as we change it, I have it on my laptop, so we could, whoever wants to fill in all the blanks, I can fill that in and then we can change it.
The other thing is, if we all just go in and look at it and start putting the numbers that we think, then we can come in and are ready to discuss in that way. When I say that,
It's hard.
because Gail's going to have to work, Gail is going to have to make changes, and it's easier for her to deal with one or two people and try to get those things together. And it's usually the finessing of the budget, not the actual form. Like, we do the formation. And when people have those questions, if you've had two people that have really gotten into it, it's easier to say, okay, these are the things we've done. I talked to Rick, I did this, this is what happened. So like me, LeVar, and Gail worked on it 1 year, and we talked to everybody and, had to get people's input from the different departments. And because it's like the designees for the liaisons of different departments. If we have that set up next week, then you would, whatever department you're covering, you would take more of a participation in that, and you would be giving people the information you need. It's in no way is anyone limited, but it just allows for there to be a little more organization. Because someone's going to end up needing to be at the office talking to Gail at some point, and we can't have everybody in there in a quorum unless we warn.
I know that other towns actually will continue to hold their select board meetings, and then in their off week, they hold a budget meeting during this time as well, so that, and then your liaisons, as you said, and then actually they have those individuals, your wastewater person would come in with your liaison so that the whole board is sort of understanding what's being presented. And I know we're running out of time, but is that, because I'll tell you, I'm going to struggle to sign off on something I haven't studied or support something.
That's how it was set up to be. Each week there was a schedule for people to come in, but of course, we didn't have any meetings for the last month and a half, so.
Right.
Right.
Now we're going to have to try to cram it in.
And some of the issues are going to be dealt with in personnel, because I think a lot of the movement on the budget's going to be in pay, because we're going to have to add more. We're going to have to add more money for certain positions in order to. I'm assuming people are on board with that. We need to be able to retain employees, and we need to get people who have the skills necessary to do especially with the wastewater, to do what needs to be done. And so I'm assuming that one of the big things where we're going to be shifting the amounts, it's going to be pay, it's going to be diesel, it's going to be heating. Those are going to be the big ticket items. Everything else we're going to have to look at. There's inflation. It will probably go up a certain amount. You look at what we spent this year to determine how much more. It's. I think that a lot of the changes are going to be there is going to be a necessity for us to be discussing it anyways, because we're going to have to change pay scales.
So are you saying you agree with separate meetings? I'm not sure what you're.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think we're going to be able to have we're going to have to just push it out. That's the other thing. I mean, how long do we actually have before we have to have it in?
The first, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was like the 27th.
Technically, yeah. I mean, it should be the last weekend. The materials have to go to the printer February 6th. That's the super latest. It would be better the last weekend.
Yeah,
Last
so I
week
mean,
in January, but
we really should have it done in the next 2 weeks. And then that allows for a little time for tweaking. Gayle is going to have to go in. Is it NREN? Not NREN. You have to go in the program and set Limerick and do a bunch of things. And then usually something comes up after adding stuff to the.
I transfer it all to an Excel spreadsheet. LeVar would go through and make sure the formulas are right, just everybody double check.
So what are we discussing right now? Are we discussing, are we discussing like, are we going to meet often, or are we discussing like 2 people would take it and run with it? I don't know where we are right now.
I think we're just feeling it out at this point.
All right.
No motion's been made.
Because the more you talk, the more you're convincing me we need all kinds of separate meetings, but.
I think we're going to have to have some nitty gritty meetings
Yeah,
that
I
are
agree.
just going to be
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think
Yeah.
we've got quite a few meetings in the next couple of weeks to figure it out. Because and I agree with some of the topics you just brought up. To me, those are pretty big topics.
Right.
Yeah.
Those aren't 5-minute discussions and being like, yeah, we're going to, rate you. I mean, there's a lot behind the scenes that we need to talk about to understand, what those are.
So it's this is going to be somewhat of an unprecedented budget season, or 2 weeks if you want to call it a season. So we can talk about that more on Thursday and be prepared to start discussing on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to come back around to budget at the end, if there's time, just to have Gayle give us a little bit of understanding. We got a draft budget out there, but so that we can start thinking about where we should be focusing.
And if you could all give me your emails, I can forward it to you. The only thing I ask is that you don't make any changes on it. If you do, highlight them in a different, I have a 2023 budget column.
Yep.
If you have ideas, we'll put them in there, we'll put them in a different color, so I know somebody else changed it, not me.
Right.
Okay.
Because
Great.
that's like,
Yeah.
So,
hell.
So at this point, just to kind of keep things rolling, and on the agenda, we're gonna get back to the budget. Let's just get through to that point. We'll discuss the appointments for liaisons at the next meeting.
yeah, one thing that, and we're not going to have time in the next couple of weeks for this, but I really think that at some point, we as a board need to understand, or I'll speak for myself, but as an example, we need to get a tour of the sewer plant, for Mike, and have Mike come in and kind of lay things out for us so we understand, the challenges and the things that are working well and the things that aren't, and the budgetary pieces. And at least I would like to be able to, in time, focus, not in the next 3 weeks, understand what all of these, I've started doing a little bit of that just on the side just to kind of understand, but I think it would be good to have an overall big picture.
So I think that's a good idea. Also, the company that has provided subs, I don't know, I don't think they're doing it now, but if we could maybe contact them, because they really got into some of the capabilities, depending on where Mike stands in his time. So, because I know,
What's the name of that company?
I don't even know off the top of my head. Gayle, what's the name of the company? Simon, that's right. So so I mean, we have to do that, and
when it comes to the sewer plant, let's call somebody from DEC and see if they'd come to one of our meetings with Mike and give us the lay of the land. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but if Chelsea's the last town that's grandfathered in of submitting paper reports to DEC, maybe we should talk about and understand what that means, and if that's going to end. And we got other things today, but
Yeah.
it seems like there's a lot of fact finding we need to do there.
And there's ARPA funds that are being put out for towns to upgrade their municipal water systems.
And
Right.
yeah, so I personally just like to throw this out there so you know where I stand. We need to do something, or else we are in danger of having our sewer and water being privatized, because we're not making enough money on it to cover the expenses. I am personally for spending our ARPA funds on things that are going to prolong the life of us having control of our water and sewer, and prolonging the life of the actual physical infrastructure. There's a lot of upgrades and things that need to happen at the water plant. I'm sure McCann's filled you in. So yes, those are things that are probably going to be right under budget, because our water system right now is like a time bomb if we don't take care of staffing and certain parts of the infrastructure. So that'll be at another meeting. We'll probably touch base on it a little bit at over the budget discussions anyways. So at this point, let's give Karen the floor, so if she has anything she wants to add.
I don't have a lot to add. I'm going to sit down with Gayle on Monday and bring the keys that were submitted into me and figure out which doors they go to, and then we'll get you a set of keys. For, especially for the people who are signing documents for Gayle. Because they were just turned in on a ring. I don't know what they go to.
I mean, not everybody needs it.
Right. Right. No, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but there's a whole set of keys. I don't know. I need to give them to you, and we need to figure out who's getting keys.
Traditionally, you don't label your keys, so that you sit at the door trying to figure out which key goes into whichever building you're trying to get into. So.
Well, that was a question I had. I think I emailed you, Karen, just understanding like access to the town hall. Like, hey, I'm going to get there an hour early because I'm in town. Can I actually get in here as a select board member, kind of thing? And I didn't know. Do we have keys and access? I didn't know.
I don't know who had access keys to the town hall. Do you?
I do.
I tried keys that were given to me, and none seemed to work on that front door. So I'm assuming most of them go over to Gayle's office. So I want to sit down with Gayle. But we will make sure you have keys to get in here.
Yeah. So I have keys which I don't know what some of the keys are to, but I can get into the town hall. I can get into the select board office. I'm assuming that there are keys to get into the garages, but I mean, I've never actually needed a key to get into there.
Yeah, I was just I was interested in
Yeah.
what history of the protocol has been, and just so that.
But I mean, historically, we've all had the same set of keys, and some people don't want keys because they don't want the responsibility. But generally, everybody has that master set that at least gets town hall, select board office, and I think we can get into the library, and then whatever else. There are keys that nobody ever uses because, how often do you need to get into those places?
Right.
Is there anything else, Karen?
Not right now.
All right. And Gayle?
Yeah, I mean, the budget, obviously, we're gonna tackle, but, the auditor hasn't gotten back to me, and she has agreed to do the audit, but I emailed her this week to say we have a select board that can sign a contract, but she hasn't sent it back to me yet, so,
Okay.
And that's a private auditor.
yeah.
So there's a contract out there, a draft contract, or
She sends a contract,
okay.
we sign it, and, she's agreed to do it, but the audit doesn't actually get done until the end of February, because she has to wait 2 months, make sure all my statements are back and all my checks have returned. So it's a tight squeeze to get it, and can't get it into the town report, but she will put a statement saying that it's in the process or whatever.
Gotcha. So that's a contract that'll come to us that will.
Yeah, hopefully I'll have it by Thursday and you can sign it.
Yeah, I mean, we put it on the agenda.
Something.
everybody gets a chance to look at it. Usually Gayle provides everything beforehand and then we vote on it.
Sure.
So we do have to, I did want to let the board know that the contract with the ambulance was signed prior to you leaving, the board leaving, and the sheriff's contract was signed before leaving. Sent a copy to Gayle
Yeah.
of that. I don't know if I sent the other one to her, but I'll bring her the hard copy. So those numbers are already in place for the budget.
All right, and then Gayle and Karen, are you okay with next Thursday?
Yep. Yeah, good.
Okay, because Gayle, you're going to be the star. All right, so then water and sewer update. I think we probably need to talk to Mike, and we don't have any. We have one application that hasn't fully come in.
No, I have one that was handwritten.
Okay.
I scanned them all. As soon as I need Lena's email, I would send it all to you as a board, all those, so you can look at them.
Okay.
So just one for wastewater, 3 people for AA.
Okay. And let's see. So, town report update, Marianne.
Okay, we're on track with getting the town report done on time. The budget will be the last thing. There's some of the town people that give reports, they're supposed to be by the 30th. Not all of them have, but that's typical and it's going to be fine. The one thing I want to talk to you about, Jeff, is that we need someone to write the select board report, and it needs to be you, basically, because 2022. So that would be as soon as you like, as soon as possible. One page. Everything's fine with that. I have a calendar that I made, and this is how I do project management, all hand and colored out. I can send this to you guys, to all of you. I have the deadlines on here. All materials need to go to the printer. This is the super last minute day, would be February 6th. Before that, there's a lot of things the select board needs to do. Budget, yes, but you have to do the warning for the town meeting, and there has to be the informational meetings. All that stuff has to be printed in the book, so it needs to be, scheduled out. Probably, I don't know, like the last weekend. The ultimate thing would be everything needs to be in the last week in the week of the 30th, 30, 31st, 1, 2, 3 of February. That's everything going to be in. So everything else will be in except for the last minute things that you need to do. So the admin assistant would type up the warning and all that stuff. Then the week of it'll be at pre-press for a week, and the week of the 13th and the 14th, there'll be editing and proofreading. I'll do that, of course, but all the select board did it last year too. Then there'll be changes, and the books are going to arrive in Chelsea on the 20th. Gayle and I will do it again. We did the labels, and we'll sort them and put them at the post office. We're going to use the mailing for it's the school postage stamp, and that's all. We'll figure that out. It's easy, if that's easy to do. So if there's any questions, it's basically you guys just have to write make the warning, make your time, warn the informational meetings. And there's deadlines to do that stuff, and there's a master calendar, and I can tell you that I've got it colored in here, and these are the end dates, but there's like some time frame, like 10 days before the town meeting, which will be on the 7th. You have to pick some times and make informational meetings, public meetings, and then, anyway, the last day you could do the warning would be like the 5th, but. If there's any questions, it's all in hand, basically.
And the last day for the warning would be February 5th.
Yeah. So that will be, depending on who the administrative assistant is, it would be drafted. It'd be drafted, and it'd come along with the budget.
Thanks, Marianne. Administrative,
I was gonna just say, I made a cover, it's just like this, I just did a quick vector illustration, it's just something to have something done. You guys could change it, I don't have anything for the back cover, I was thinking of putting some photos. I have some photos from the 4th of July parade last year that are pretty cute, and I thought I'd put a couple of those on the back.
all right. Thanks, Marianne.
Yeah.
Karen and Gayle for the administrative assistant update.
Mine mostly was those 2 contracts. Marianne hit the highlights with town meeting stuff there and that calendar, which I've got to go find. Gayle?
Two or I thought you said we had 3.
2 contracts, the fire department
Oh.
and the, no, not the fire department, the sheriff's department. We had signed that earlier, and the ambulance contract.
And then executive session for human resources. Is there anything that we need to discuss since we haven't gotten any of the resumes in hand at this point? Yeah, so we'll put that on the next meeting as well. We should at least discuss what we have. Maybe set up interviews and get the administrative assistant position taken care of.
Yep.
So we have a vacant administrative assistant. Obviously, there's a vacancy, one vacancy. Well, I guess it's not really a vacancy at this sewer plant. We'll have to discuss that.
Yeah,
But
Somebody needs to approach Nolan and get a definite answer if he's coming back or not, because if he's not coming back, we can hire somebody full-time. Otherwise, we can only hire somebody temporary.
Right.
okay.
So I don't know that much about the sewer plant. Can somebody fill me in on like what coverage it actually requires, the hours for the position and the qualifications for that?
Can I just say, okay, so I think on the website there's a link that when I originally put on the ad to what the requirements are. There's requirements for if you want to be an assistant, like how many hours you have to be under the certification, and there's the certification things are there. They're linked to the state. It's a state form thing. My suggestion would be all of you guys should have a walkthrough. The walkthrough that the last board did with Nolan and that summer, and we were all like, oh, that was way informative. When you walk through, you see how it goes, and he tells you where it is, and you get it, you feel it, you get the picture there. Plus, there's a lot of administrative assistant things like historical things. There's a congressional funding grant that we have. There's funding for that. A grant I wrote that we got. There's like the water meter. There's a lot of reading, or it'd have to be presentation. It'd be easier to go through a walkthrough and then, give you as much information at one point as you can. But that would be my suggestion.
That was one of my suggestions. Is sooner or later that we attempt to schedule a time where Mike could give us a walkthrough down there, which would, I'll just say, would likely not be on an evening of a normal meeting because Mike works nights. But
It might be a time like
we might want to consider before we leave here today, even talking about our additional meetings so that we can kind of pencil them in.
So I would suggest we talk to Mike and see what morning's best for him. And
It would probably be a Saturday. I talked to Mike. It would
Okay.
probably be, like maybe a Saturday morning kind of thing.
If you all do it, it has to be a special meeting, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it would be a regular meeting. I mean, yeah. And I don't want to. Generally speaking, I think it would work better if we were able to do like a morning.
yeah,
Probably for all of us, a weekday morning wouldn't work great, but
Saturday.
but Mike could do a weekday morning, but all of us probably have to work, so so maybe it could be like a Saturday
If
morning.
we all want to do that, would we consider switching the Thursday meeting to Saturday and just roll it into
No,
one?
you'd have an addition.
We can, so we'd have to have a third. We can, okay.
I mean, we just we don't have the time to. Like, if we want to have a meeting on Saturday, there's plenty to discuss, but we should still have a Thursday meeting.
Meeting, okay.
At least right
Do we
now.
want to try to plan it for next Saturday so we can get through
I
that?
think
Is that too
tentatively
much?
we should, I mean, obviously, talk to Mike, and then try to do maybe a walkthrough on Saturday, next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Do you want to talk to him?
Yeah, I'll talk to Mike and see. It would have to be a special meeting, so we'd have to do a warning.
Special meetings next week. We'll do the Thursday at 6:30.
Is Sunday, no, we shouldn't hold a meeting on Sunday.
Or we could do the next
You know what?
Saturday too. We'll just ask Mike what works for him.
Well, I don't have to be there.
You should be. If we can, I think we should plan it so that we can
Okay.
all be there.
Okay.
So, I guess I wasn't saying you should change your plans. I was just saying, like, we should try to find a time that works for all of
Okay.
us. It works for Mike. So I could just ask Mike about maybe the next 2 Saturdays. Would that?
Yes.
See which one works best for
Yeah.
him. and
Your next Saturday you couldn't do.
No, but that's okay.
Well, I'll just ask Mike if it's good with everybody. I'll ask Mike if the 21st, the Saturday morning on the 21st will work.
Thank you.
All right. And let's see. So,
Well, Jeff, I know you're trying to get out of here, but in terms of vacancies, we also have a road crew vacancy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, so road crew, I think Mike has been filling in with Rick during the storms, right?
He has been.
Yeah. Paul came back, right?
Yes.
And Paul is, very part-time. So we definitely need to get somebody in there. That we can talk about that in executive session more. I think that's it because for human resources stuff, because we just need more information in hand to look at and then start scheduling interviews for the administrative assistant position. Is there anything else we want to touch on right now?
I mean, the one thing I would say is, Gayle had a copy of this salary, across the state. It's very informative, and as the budget piece, we got to talk about what salaries will be and that kind of thing. There's a lot in here, and if it is online, I mean, I can give this to, unless Gayle needs it, to anybody that wants it today, but it's very, there's average salaries, median salaries by administrative assistant, town clerk, road foreman, all the way down through, and I think it's pretty helpful. And actually, Marianne gave me something she'd done for a previous board in terms of what salaries are. It's pretty informative to look at what our salaries are versus the average and median, and it's by town, so you can look and say, hey, Stratford and Orange and Corinth have this. I think if folks can.
I sent you the link.
I didn't check. Yeah, last night I didn't get a
I should have
chance to
sent
look
you
at.
the link because you're the only two I have
Link
for this municipal compensation and benefits report, which is that book there.
Yeah.
So
They have it in Excel format.
They do.
Yes, for sure. I'll get
Everybody
it to you
should
guys.
look at the VLCT classifieds to see what people are offering now, because I have a feeling, given that I would be willing to bet there's 7 towns around somewhat close to us that are looking for wastewater people. It might have changed, but the thing is on the street, that would be a better indication of what is changing from that, because that'll be a somewhat dated,
Well-
I would assume.
And I agree with you, but as an example, our salary rate for our wastewater operator is, I believe, somewhere in the order of magnitude of $9 or $10 below the statewide average.
Yeah, no, I mean.
So just as a, in 2022, it may be higher now, but it's, and I'm not suggesting anything other than that's just factual based on what we
Yeah.
have in here.
So the other thing that we need to consider, and which I think is important, is having those positions, the head positions, salaried, because we've had some issues with overtime in the sewer where the assistant isn't doing the hours that they probably should in order to keep the higher paying guy from doing the overtime. And so like this has been something that has been like on and off over the past,
So the main position for wastewater plant is 40 hours a week.
Yes.
Okay.
And I would suggest we do it salaried. So, it's up to you. If you're the manager and you want to take that extra time and not have your assistant do it, well, your salary is still what it is. And it gives a little more incentive to manage things so that we're not putting money out. Because we have a deficit for wastewater and...
Can that be managed through, like overtime needs to be pre-approved? Can it be managed through different...
It's a lot
job
more hands-on
descriptions
and
or-
difficult and easily ignored, especially when the select board's dealing with other things. And how many of us want to hold up people's paychecks if, for 4 or 6 hours?
Right.
It makes it a lot more difficult. I think if we just say, this is your salary, this is what people in positions of authority have generally, and it's up to you to manage your time and your employees so that you don't put in that extra time. And we can discuss that further. I just think that
I get a lot to understand with that, like what do other towns do, kind of thing. And you just mentioned an assistant. I don't even know. Do we have one? Have we had one? Should we have one?
We have had
I know we
one,
have in the
we
past, but like.
So we don't have one, but we should have one.
Well, we need someone. Mike is not our. He might be the person we're relying on, but he is not our assistant, and he's not our emergency person. He's doing this out of the kindness of his heart. Yeah, right. And I think that his kindness is probably wearing thin, and will be wearing very thin soon. So we need an assistant so that if the head operator is sick or just needs a day off, that person steps in for those those hours.
Do I dare ask, are there times that we need a second individual on site with that first person?
And yes, because going down into the pit, because of OSHA standards. Sorry?
Are we doing that?
As far as I know.
Okay.
But
I think the board should make certain that's happening because that's the board's liability.
yeah.
Yeah.
And generally, there's either a road crew guy goes there just while whoever's going down into the pit is down in the pit. That whole situation, if we automate things, I think would not be necessary anymore. But we've been kind of operating with Hale Mattoon standards from the 80s, and we actually have capabilities to go automated, and so we have to look at that. But yeah, so there's a lot of, we could be here until midnight. So unless anyone has anything else, I'm going to move. I would like to hear a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, and I would just like to say thank you, and I think we all feel that, to yourself, to Karen, to Marianne, to Gayle. We mentioned Mike. There's probably other people. This has been unprecedented times, and at least the town has moved forward. To Rick and Paul for agreeing to come back. I think it's just worth acknowledging that, and there may be people we're missing, but I think it's worthwhile acknowledging that it was pretty tough times, and here we are, and the roads got plowed and the wastewater plant operated and people got paid and all of those good things. So I think it's worth at least acknowledging and saying thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Remember, Gayle and Karen on normal days go above and beyond what is officially required. And there was a special election, so Karen was doing even more, which then dragged in Gayle and Jane and Phyllis and whoever the other volunteers are. But Karen, I know Karen has been here till 4 a.m. after an election. So I just think it should be recognized.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't miss anybody.
Yeah.
Probably did.
But,
I think it's just worth acknowledging that we're at least here and the town kept operating despite some challenging times.
All right, so motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion, the meeting is adjourned at 8:24.
If anybody,
You do the water bill to your place?
if anybody wants.
Give it to me.